Alright, our 3:30 time slot is up. First, let's thank all the teachers and students for attending today's hackathon topic briefing. Also, many thanks to Dean Liu Sungyu from UTAR. Before the dean starts, let me explain something. The hackathon will be held from March 1st to May 13th. If students want to participate in the hackathon, please register at our site in ssbc.io. Then, before May 20th, you will need to submit your hackathon report. Submit to our system. On June 20th and 21st is our hackathon online presentation. After that, we will spend a week to roughly select the final teams to advance. This year, 6 teams will be selected to advance. We will arrange teachers from UTAR to help guide. It's from June 28th to August 28th. A kind of guidance. Then from August 29th to August 30th is our final competition. Okay, I'll hand over the time to our dean. Thank you, Yo. Should I speak in Chinese or English? Either is fine. I see there are more Chinese-speaking teachers online now. Would it be better to speak in English? No response. Dean, you choose. If everyone can use Chinese, I think using Chinese might be better. Alright, then let's use Chinese. Then I'll share my screen. If anyone wants me to use English, please let me know. You can write it in the comments. That way I'll know you prefer me to use English. Let me share now. You should be able to see my screen. Can everyone see my presentation? Yes, we can. Okay, thank you. This is a brief introduction session about this year's hackathon, the goal we want to achieve, and our issues. This year we have set the theme on the supply chain. The so-called supply chain means we have supply and demand. Then how we connect the supply to the demand, from the supply side to the demand side. In between, there are some logistics arrangements, specifically some logistic arrangements. So its general direction is like this. Right? This year's topic is the same as last year's. Mr. Yong invested in stocks the year before last. Then he planted crops last year. And this year he's working on logistics. Okay, so basically our main focus, of course, our questions can't be too broad. Mainly, we're focusing on planting, mainly vegetables, the vegetable supply chain. For vegetables, we've selected 3 locations: Cameron Highlands, Batong Baruntai in Selangor, and Johor. These 3 are 3 clusters. Of course, Malaysia has more than these 3 vegetable supply clusters, so we roughly selected these to simplify the problem. Each cluster has about 5 to 10 farms. Our topic should cover 6 items, with each farm having around 2 to 3 kinds of vegetables. These vegetables are marked by SKU to specify their characteristics. Can you help me keep an eye on the chat box? If someone needs me to explain in English, please let me know so I can explain in English. Otherwise, I will probably continue in Chinese. Here, we mainly have some data sets for everyone to reference. Let's first talk about the supply chain, starting with the suppliers. Suppliers are those who provide vegetables, farms. So we need to look at these 3 CSV files. The main one is about farms. From the farms, you can see that each cluster has 8 farms. We consistently have 8 for each. We can see that each farm here has its assigned identification number. Of course, for different databases, you might use different methods. Here, it's simple, like farm 001, farm 002, then their locations, and so on. And something more important is this: latitude and longitude, which correspond to its geographical coordinates, because when using GPS, latitude and longitude allow you to know very precisely, approximately where that location is. Then this so-called house stage refers to their harvest days, meaning their farms can continuously have harvests, but we now set a rule that farms have fixed harvest days. For example, from the 1st to the 16th, their harvest days are Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And from the 17th to the 24th, they are on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Of course, that is. This is obviously a simulated situation. So in reality, it may not necessarily be like this, but we use this simulated scenario as the topic for our competition. Next, besides the farms, there are different crops on the farms. You can see these crops. For example, on the left side here is farm number 1. It actually produces SKU-CAB and SKU-OKR. I will explain what these are shortly. Some farms have at most 3 crops. For example, this 008, it has OKR, Chi, and SPI, these 3 types of crops. Here our daily output is set quite high. It should be enough to meet all the demand. Each production varies in cost. Some are expensive, some are cheap, depending on the agricultural product. Here is unit costs, RM, roughly the selling price. So this table actually lists out all the details of the agricultural products produced by each farm. Earlier we used codes, SKU-CAB and SKU-LT. We can tell these are cabbage or lettuce, tomatoes, and so on. Of course, it could be a leaf type, it could be a fruit type, or it could be a root type. Of course, each agricultural product might be heavy or not, and here there are also differences in weight. Then shelf life ampere hours means how long it can be stored at room temperature. For example, spinach, number 7, can only be stored for 8 hours at room temperature. After 8 hours, it starts to deteriorate and some will spoil. As for the deterioration rate, we also provide it here, indicating the rate of loss, roughly how much it deteriorates per hour. Because you might need to consider these losses, we also need to take them into account when handling the entire logistics process, incorporating this loss into the calculations. And of course, if we have a certain storage rate at room temperature. But if we refrigerate, of course, we can extend that time. And during the transportation process, some vegetables must be refrigerated. Some vegetables can be refrigerated or not refrigerated. So this G column lets you know which vegetables must be refrigerated. Refrigerate, must refrigerate, is marked as 1. Those that don't necessarily need refrigeration are marked as 0. This doesn't mean you cannot refrigerate them. You can, it's just that refrigeration is not required. But if you want to refrigerate, that's also fine. But 1 means you must refrigerate. If it must be refrigerated, your entire logistics chain must be refrigerated from start to finish with refrigerated equipment. Next is the spoilage rate, which refers to after its shelf life has passed, it will have a spoilage rate. So this basically covers the entire range of agricultural products and farms, and data related to agricultural products. And here just now we mentioned the supply side. Now the demand side pertains to our customers. Our customers are mainly within 2 datasets. These customers can be located in Malaysia. Of course, we've simplified many things. Here we have 2 datasets that you might need to look at. Customers.csv and demand.csv. Customer data is actually very simple, indicating exactly where they are located. We naturally have identifiers. Column A contains the ID numbers. As for the number, it is followed by its name. It could be a supermarket, or it could be a wholesaler, etc. Then, of course, it's in different states and different cities. And of course, there's also its category. And more importantly, of course, are the latitude and longitude. Latitude and longitude, they are also quite important because when you decide how to handle logistics, this is something you must consider. And the cold storage request indicates that they have requirements, but not necessarily, meaning you might not necessarily be able to meet them. That is, whether there are requirements or not. But these requirements, or lack thereof, are not absolutely mandatory. Unlike some vegetables we mentioned earlier, those that need refrigeration must be refrigerated. This just means they have such a requirement. It's best if you can meet it, but if not, it's okay, as long as you ensure the vegetables arrive within their specified time. They have a delivery window, which is their receiving time for vegetables and goods. For example, their working hours, meaning they only accept deliveries from Monday to Friday and no deliveries on other days. And so on. These are roughly the kinds of requirements. Then max lead time means the longest time from when you ship to when they receive. How long can it be at most? What it means is, maybe after they place an order, you have to deliver within 72 hours. Or you have to deliver within 24 hours. So this includes that when you arrange logistics, you must consider and probably take into account the needs of these different customers. This is from the customer's side. Next is their requirements, the characteristics and needs from the customer's side. Their demand volume is quite large. For example, on average at C here, this is their average demand. For instance, customer number 1 requires lettuce, cabbage, and Spanish spinach. Then the quantity they require, their demand size is approximately this much. So I haven't listed everything here because this file is a bit larger and I didn't include all the items. Then this is their weekly demand. But their weekly demand might be split into 3 requests or split into 2 requests. So each week, they might split it into 3 times, but each time the requirement is basically at least. For example, let's look at the first customer. He wants lettuce. As for the lettuce, his quantity is about 52 boxes per week. He might split the demand into 3 times, but each time he demands at least 15 boxes. This is roughly what he means. Any questions so far? I've explained up to now. Any issues? Or maybe you haven't digested it yet, but that's okay. I'll just continue for now. Anyway, after this is recorded, everyone can review it again. Of course, we have the supply side and the demand side. So how do we meet their needs? We need transportation to deliver these goods. Of course, transportation isn't the only way. There might be something in between, which we call logistics in the middle. It isn't necessarily the only route. There could be other things added in between. But simply put, at the very least, you need transportation. There are three types of transportation: a van, which has no refrigeration, or a lorry, a regular lorry without refrigeration, or our reefer truck, which is refrigerated, meaning for example, for all the vegetables that need to be frozen, you must use this during transportation. You cannot use a van or a lorry. Okay, so when we construct it this way, you can see that we have the supply side, then the demand side, and in between, we have the distribution side, which is about how you deliver these things. Of course, we have proposed some calculations. We require a certain level of effect to be achieved. And of course, you must fully meet all the demands. This is one of our requirements. Of course, you can't meet it. Actually, you shouldn't have taken that client in the first place. We assume that you have already taken this client. So you need to fully meet their demands. I'll explain the rest later. Here, we require everyone to make 2 proposals. That is, 2 project plans, and then you compare them, meaning that apart from some measures we specify, in addition to being able to calculate some things, you can consider that some aspects might not have been thoroughly considered in the problem statement. So you may need to add some conditions on your own. Of course, we have a hard constraint, which is that you must fully satisfy 100% of the requirements, meeting all the demands on the demand side. And here, of course, because we are talking about green. If we also talk about green, we will have some green focus. Our green metrics include things like your fuel consumption, because you want to minimize fuel consumption as much as possible. But an interesting point is that the less fuel you consume, it means you might be using fewer vehicles, but this could cause the vegetables to spoil. When the vegetables spoil, you may have to throw them away, which on the other hand, if you discard too many vegetables, it becomes environmentally unfriendly. So under these 2 conditions, if you want to ensure absolute freshness with 0 loss rate, you would assign a vehicle for each type of vegetable. This is the simplest and most straightforward method. 1 vehicle per vegetable, delivering directly from the start to the endpoint with dedicated transport. But obviously, this consumes too much fuel. So this obviously isn't a very green solution. Therefore, there are many factors in between that everyone needs to consider. How to meet all the demands on one hand, while reducing the loss rate, and on the other hand, not consuming too much fuel. Of course, at the same time, we need to control costs. So there are many things that everyone must think about. We don't provide a standard answer here. This is not a mathematical problem. Of course, there are many cases where you need to use math to calculate, but the results can actually be diverse and varied. Okay, so students can use their imagination here. And of course, you will need to submit 2 proposals. And you will have to make some comparisons. After that, we will select. I forgot. Maybe you can explain this later, about what percentage we roughly select. Then do the online report. After the online report, we will select 6 pairs to participate in the finals. Our report, and that is the preliminary report and presentation, both use the same dataset. But for the finals, we might make some slight changes to increase the difficulty, to raise the challenge level for those 6 teams. There might be some special unexpected situations. We will consider this and inform everyone later. So what do you need to submit for the preliminaries? You need to submit your report explaining your proposal A, why you chose it, your proposal B, and why you chose that. Then you have the KPI table where you compare their costs, fuel consumption, whether they can deliver on time, or your losses, how much you have to discard. If you choose A or B, you need to tell us why you chose that, what exactly it is, and why. Of course, many details need to be listed in the appendix. So we know this comes from calculations rather than just imagination. Results from imagination. A few small reminders about any assumptions you have. The clearer the better. There are 2 hard carbon limits you must meet. These are non-negotiable. 100% of all customer demands must be met. You can be late, but you must fulfill the requirements. If you need refrigerated vegetables, the entire logistics process must be refrigerated. Then what we consider is, for example, like that farm just mentioned, some farms only harvest on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and only ship then. We only consider the period from shipment to receipt. As for when they harvest, if there's no shipment, we treat it as if there was no harvest. When they ship, their maximum daily output is 2,000 boxes. This is what we mentioned earlier. And the evaluation criteria require you to tell us exactly how you calculate this, your fuel consumption, and so on. Then we use a 1-week cycle. Then how do you emphasize that your solution is relatively green? Then you can use any tools. You can use AI, which is actually very convenient nowadays. Actually, when we used to do these things, we also had to create some databases and write some programs to curate these databases. Then extract the data from these databases for calculation. Now AI is really very convenient, truly very convenient. So you should make good use of the AI tools you currently have. Let these tools help you organize the questions and even give you a preliminary plan. Then how do you optimize this plan? Here, some situations are just every situation. This situation we haven't confirmed yet because currently S0 to S2 are actually very close. We actually haven't really included them. So in case of an emergency, for now, maybe no one really needs to look at it. This emergency situation. It's just that we might have some tests during the process. We will look at your answers. In case we increase a little or decrease a little, whether your answers still have some flexibility. How to implement the 2 proposals. Here are just some examples. We're not asking you to necessarily compare with others. Directly from the farm to the customer, each one-to-one corresponds to a farm and a customer with a dedicated vehicle. This is the most direct and fastest way. But clearly, this consumes a lot of fuel. You can consider this as the first proposal, but to be honest, this proposal has no value at all. So if you, as A, have a proposal like this, we would probably feel that this proposal has no point whatsoever. No focus at all. Or you could say something like how to handle transportation in between. Perhaps a truck can pass through several nearby stops, collect items, and then leave. This can greatly save on fuel consumption, meaning you can combine several orders and then deliver them. Of course, this depends a lot on how you decide to handle it, and it doesn't have to be your judgments. Maybe you can ask AI to help make some adjustments. A crucial part is the appendix. You must clearly write down the KPIs. And then the spoilage rate, how to handle spoilage. If it's not delivered, we don't consider it valid. Don't ask me what happens if the farm harvests but doesn't deliver. We don't consider that. We only consider that the farm shipping means they harvest and deliver immediately. Because we want to avoid many things, like whether the farm has some freezing equipment, we don't consider those. Basically, the two proposals are different, with some different parameters and points considered. That's about it for my brief introduction. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, before we wait for questions from the teacher and students, let me briefly explain. We will select the two proposals mentioned earlier, meaning we will assume there are 50 teams participating in this hackathon. And all 50 teams will submit proposals at the same time. Then we will select about 30% to 40% of the teams. Submit the preliminary round report. For example, if 50 teams participate and have all submitted reports, we will select 20 teams to participate in the online presentations on the 20th and 21st. And then select 6 teams from these to participate in the finals. So our final competition will only have 6 teams. Yes, the report should be submitted to us as a PDF. No need to print and mail it. Okay, the dean can check inside the chat room. Take a look. Damaged vegetables. If damaged, you won't be able to meet the customer's requirements. So if it's damaged, it should not actually be counted towards his demand volume, because this is the loss rate during your transportation process. What about the fixed costs for the HUB? That's a very good question. For the fixed costs of the HUB, you need to find that information yourselves. We do not provide it here. Not provided. So would it be better to build a HUB? We let the students have freedom to develop, but you must, for example, after setting the fixed costs for your HUB, you must inform us. Students must tell us where this fixed cost data comes from and what references are used. No, it's all soft copy. If teachers or students ask if the paper report needs to be written on actual paper, it should not require any paper now. What we call the paper report is actually a soft copy, like a Word document or other formats. No need to print it out. No need. Really? Really? You don't need them to print it out? No need. No need. Just submit the PDF or certain documents. Yes, 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 yes. Are there any other questions? Sorry, let's wait a moment. The teacher and students need to digest this topic. Let's wait. We'll give everyone 3 to 5 minutes. Dean, could you please stop sharing? I'll tell everyone that the materials can be. If you want to find it, please explain so I can inform everyone about the materials. Okay. If he has questions, he can share them with everyone. Basically, all our materials will be available here. Whether this is your first time or whether or not it's your first time participating in a hackathon, you can go to our official website here. where there is a hackathon document. Then here will be our topic. And then the report guidelines we just talked about. And also all the CSV files mentioned earlier by the dean. If mixed together, the dataset will be placed here. But if we have updates, we will inform everyone. Currently, it is version 4. The presentation materials I am responsible for will be provided later. And by NAS materials will also be provided later. 2. If there are no questions, I will continue. So students, if you have teachers, classmate, you want to join the hackathon, please remember to check the box. It means you want to join the hackathon. If you want to participate in both, you should check both boxes. Then finally, on our hackathon page, you can upload your proposal materials to us. Once we receive them, we will register them. Of course, if you do, we require 3 students. A group. So you can find teammates from your own school or across schools. All are welcome. So what do you want to name your hackathon team? Then you save it, and our system will receive it. Let me check the chat. There is a question in the chat room. Okay, just now this student had this question, which is, do we need to do coding? Okay, coding. Actually, we are using tools now, so whether you want to do coding is entirely up to you. We are not requiring you to show us your coding. Or if you really can do coding and do some simple data analytics, that's also fine, but coding is not a mandatory requirement. Can a team have only 2 members? There are a total of 3, so you must make up 3 people. Yes, you have to figure out how to get 3 people. Our requirement is 3 people. You can find some friends. If they don't contribute at all, it doesn't matter, just put their name. But you must make sure there are 3 people. You can use coding or not, but we recommend it because many AI tools now are quite convenient. So if you are really strong at coding, that's no problem. If you're very familiar with that kind of database, SQL, and everything, then there's no problem. However, it doesn't mean that if you use coding, your report will be better than others. In the end, we still look at the results. Right, at most 3, and it must be 3. So if you're the only one now, you can check if any of your friends from the same school want to join. If you have 2, then find one more. If you already have 4 people, then they have to form another group themselves. These 2 of mine are working on 2. Okay. Not necessary. You can have different team members. You can. NSSBC is 2 other friends. Your hackathon can be 2 other friends. No problem. We had this last year. It's when he joined the hackathon. Team formation must be completed. No, you need to form teams before adding the proposal. That means by May 20th. The team formation must be completed. Yes, because you submit the same proposal report. So we will select 30% to 40% for online presentation, probably. That's quite a large number. So our review process is, the workload is quite heavy. If there are 50 pairs, we will have to listen to presentations from about 20 pairs. Most of the teachers participated last year. Some are participating for the first time. It's okay. Oh, for the hackathon, you'll need to find your own teammates because it's difficult for us to group you together. The reason is this. It's the proposal submitted by the three of you. If we later help everyone group together, which proposal will you ultimately use? It is very difficult for us to define. So on May 20th, make sure to find your hackathon team members and then submit one final proposal discussed among the three of you. I think, for example, if the teacher is in our teacher's WhatsApp group. For example, if you only have one person, please ask the teacher if other schools have any. Other students should form teams before the proposal, before teaching the proposal. Then you discuss online. If you are in different locations, discuss online. Then submit a proposal. We are open until 4:10. I have 3 minutes. It's okay. We are all in the teacher group or student group. If you have any questions or doubts, you can ask. There are about 2 months left before teaching the proposal. So everyone can use this question to see if there are any other doubts. No, let me fix it. After you sign up, you'll receive an email. Inside the email, there will be the link on how to join the student group. If you personal login. After registering, you can choose this. Join WhatsApp group. Then after you click, you can auto-join the WhatsApp group. Is that okay? So both methods work. You'll receive an auto-reply notification. Okay. Actually, you probably won't fail to form a team. For example, even if you add 2 extra friends' names, it's okay if you end up doing everything alone, we won't mind. So the problem is, if you don't form a team, you can't participate. It's not a matter of elimination. It's that you can't participate at all. So students, classmates, you still have quite some time. If you decide to participate, you can try to find friends. Specifically, you can present. You can participate together, and then join as a team. Classmate. Actually, you can also find some friends who are very good at speaking, because you have to do a presentation in the final. You should divide the work. Some of you handle the technically difficult parts, while some are good at. I will do the report. Yes, and the report has to be in English, right? Right. The proposal must be in English. English, because nowadays there are many translation tools, I think. Now language is no longer a big problem. So your teammates should be good at presentations. Our proposal guidelines have a quite detailed explanation about this. Yes, there will be a question and answer session during the review. Definitely, because if there are parts we don't understand, we must ask questions. Last year, were we allowed to answer in Chinese or did we have to answer in English? Our report is in English, and the answers can be given in Chinese, no problem. It seems answers can be in Chinese. So when you gave the report, what did you use? Right, English. We hope that through this kind of competition, students will start to have the opportunity to practice everyday English for writing reports and then communicating. We think this is a very important skill for everyone in the future, even if you don't practice now. One day you will still encounter such situations. It's better to just do it in middle school anyway, because no one will laugh at you. Just boldly use English. Use English to communicate with others. We will keep the session open for another minute. If no one else has questions, then today's briefing ends here. So we welcome everyone, because this time, for the preliminaries, there is only one report required, but you need to submit 2 proposals, compare these 2 proposals, and then select one. But all of this content is contained within a single report. Okay, most should have been answered then. All right, we sincerely thank the dean and the instructors for today's briefing. Thank you. Thank you. We will continue. If any students have questions for the teachers, please ask in the group chat, and we will answer your questions as soon as possible. Then we look forward to everyone finding their own team members and joining our hackathon. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.